This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. Today, we talk about the March for Babies and participation here at TRC, all focused on the local event coming Saturday, April 26th to the JCC Jamestown campus. Much more on that in just a moment, but as always, our program begins with Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director here at the Resource Center. Steve, thanks for setting up very quickly a big show here on Share the Vision.
Oh, Dennis, thanks for being able to come down and do the show.
Let us set the stage for the March for Babies, talk a moment about what it is, and focus in the early minutes of this program on why the Resource Center has an interest in the March for Babies.
The March for Babies, I believe, is the March of Dimes' largest fundraiser every year, and this is something that the Resource Center and TRC Foundation have been involved with for a number of years, probably at least 10 or 12. We are certainly interested in supporting this event every year because of the emphasis that the March of Dimes places on raising money to prevent birth defects, infant mortality, and premature birth. It fits right in with the Resource Center's mission of disability awareness and prevention. So we're happy to participate. We're putting together some teams, and for all of the radio listeners out there, if they want to come out and aren't a member of a team but want to be there, we'd be happy to adopt them, and they can come walk with us.
I'm also happy to note that the Media One group of radio stations, one of which is broadcasting this program as we speak, is also one of the sponsors of this event, the March for Babies. Thank you for that introduction, Steve. And I want to move on now to a couple of other guests. We do have a room full of people who will be on Share the Vision today. The next voice, if you are familiar with the March for Babies at all, may be familiar to you, and that is Jessica Holmes. Jessica, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Dennis. Glad to be here.
Very nice to have you. And also joining us today is Tyler Case. Tyler, nice to have you as well.
Thanks, Dennis. Glad to be here.
I want to spend a moment giving the titles here because Jessica most recently has become the program administrator of New Visions, which is one of the associated corporations to the Resource Center here. And Tyler Case is HR administrator here at TRC, the Resource Center. Jessica, for many, many years, was the team leader here at TRC for the March for Babies. But now you're at New Visions, so you've handed your old job to Tyler and started it anew at your new work.
That's correct. I'm trying to get a team together over there, and hopefully the corporations can follow along with what I've done for TRC every year.
And you have a keen interest in this. You mentioned it as we were getting ready to go on the air here today, Jessica, and I want to retell your story one more time because you have a commitment to the March of Dimes and the March for Babies. Tell me how this developed for you.
Well, I originally got involved with the March of Dimes back in 2004. I had lost a son to prematurity earlier that year in January. And so that's really what started my connection with the March of Dimes. So that year was my first year, and I just joined TRC's team at that point. I wasn't, captain or anything like that. I just joined the team and went out and walked that year, and that's kind of what started it. I've walked with the Resource Center's team every year since then. Then again in 2007, I became pregnant again, and my daughter Alexa was born at 28 weeks in May of 2007. She spent 7 weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit at Buffalo Children's Hospital after I had already been in the hospital for several weeks myself on bed rest. So between her and I, we spent a lot of time up there.
This is a moving story, and it gets me every time you tell this because of the amazing story of your life and your daughter, and I must ask how Alexa is now.
Now she is a spunky, sassy little 6-year-old girl and doing very well health-wise. You would never know that she had any sort of developmental delay or that she was 12 weeks premature at all. You would never know.
But the experience that you had was enough to impel you to really make a sustained commitment to the March of Dimes to help understand, deal with, perhaps prevent the kinds of experiences that you have had.
Right. I mean, it's a very hard thing to go through. And if I can help even a little bit to prevent even one other family from having to go through that, it would be well worth it for me. So every year I try my best to do just that.
You are starting a new team for the March for Babies at New Visions. Let's hear your sales pitch, Jessica. How do you get people, and what do you say to them to get them involved and signed up so that they will march and help raise money for this?
Well, a lot of times it's hard. If you just walk in somewhere new where you don't know anybody and just say, hey, you want to give me money? Or, hey, you want to join my team? Those kinds of things. You have to really get to know the people first. And so just slowly as you're getting to know people and they're kind of getting to know you, just telling them why I'm involved and why it means so much to me.
The story you just told.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. If you let them know that you've got a personal story behind it, and that really helps them make that connection as well. And if they're learning to get to know you and like you, they're more apt to join into the causes that you're excited about yourself.
So you're working now, if there's anybody who listens to this program from New Visions, you're going to be knocking on their door sometime
Yes,
soon.
please join our team. Come walk with us, come volunteer. If you're not able to make it that day, if you can make a donation, even, any little thing helps. We're also selling the March of Dimes cutoffs at various locations throughout TRC, so, even if you can't make it that day to help, buy a cutout from us, and that would be perfect.
I want to bring Tyler in on this conversation. Now, how big a team did you inherit from Jessica when she gave the TRC team over to you? How many members are there most times, Tyler?
Well, I hate to say it, Dennis, but I guess I have yet to determine that. But I have been involved at least as long as Jessica has been over the last handful of years, and I'm in somewhat of a unique position in that I have watched Alexa grow up over the last handful of years, and it's an interesting organization because before Alexa, I really didn't know anyone who was premature, who went through any of that growing up, whether it's from the parent's perspective or the child's. Interestingly, though, when we went to the various kickoffs over the last handful of years, I actually ran into several people that I know and went to school with many years ago. And I realized at that point that there really are quite a few people that this has really impacted. And I know that in Alexa's case, the March of Dimes has really made a significant difference in her success today.
Well, obviously you know Jessica and Alexa well.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that impact been that the March of Dimes, the March for Babies, has had on Alexa? Let's flesh that out a little bit.
Sure. I think one of the greatest contributions, at least from my perspective, from the March of Dimes really is, of course, the funds that are raised for it, but those go to support the research behind helping figure out what it is that causes premature birth, and also some of the treatments that can be given very early on so that children like Alexa don't have lasting
issues,
results from that. Mm-hmm.
And Jessica, how big a team did you have at the Resource Center? What's Tyler's responsibility now as he picks up where you left off?
Usually, it varies from year to year. Usually we have 20 to 30 people between the walkers and the volunteers that show up to help that day. So a lot of times we'll get individuals who live in some of our residences through the Resource Center that show up as well and join us and have a good day just walking and helping us celebrate the organization.
Knowing Jessica and Alexa, obviously, as well as you do, Tyler, you are similarly committed to this and will tell the story around the Resource Center, try and keep up with what she's done so far. And
Absolutely. I'm sure it'll be a challenge along the way, but I am up to it, and I'm glad that she has trusted me with the passing of the torch.
Very nicely put. How does the March for Babies raise money? Let's talk about that for a moment before we bring some representatives of the March of Dimes who are in the room with us on the air. How do people contribute?
As far as our organization goes, what I've done in the past for the Resource Center, there's a few different things that we do. Like I had mentioned a few minutes ago, we sell the cutouts at different various sites throughout the Resource Center. Basically, you pay $1, you get a little circle that says the March of Dimes, and you put your name on it, and they'll display it on the wall for you. So anybody coming in or out of many of our locations can quickly make a small contribution like that. Usually every year, I also have an individual that works here at the Resource Center that I usually will chat with her, and she does a cheesecake raffle throughout the Denham building. So she makes these fabulous cheesecakes, and usually she's got a couple every year that she's willing to make for the cause, and then people buy raffle tickets. We raise money that way. Whoever happens to win the raffle gets one of her famous cheesecakes.
I see Tyler furiously taking notes. Keep going, Jessica.
And then also we ask for donations. Each of the person who's going to be walking asks for donations from family, friends, coworkers, those kinds of things.
When you actually get to the walk, what's the environment like? What's it like to participate in this? Is long walk, short walk? What's the mood around it?
It's usually about 3 miles. Usually people get there and you can kind of feel the excitement. Everybody's there for a reason, and everybody's got their story, and you can kind of feel it when you get there. Just everybody's kind of excited and anxious and ready to go.
You echo those feelings, Tyler? You've been there.
I do, and I participate in the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life, and I kind of get a sense that it's this almost a networking opportunity. You go maybe with yourself, your family, things like that, but then your little group starts to expand, and you include family, friends, things like that. And it's really just a very nice, casual walk. There's really no pressure. It isn't a race. Some people do choose to run. Some people walk. But it really is just a nice way to bond with people who have been impacted by this in the past.
I'll give you a chance to come back later in the show if you want to add anything. I'm going to have you switch now, but if there's anything you want to put out there, Tyler, for the Resource Center employees who listen to this program, if you want to put your sales pitch out here, now I didn't want to deny you the opportunity.
It's one of those unique opportunities that if you happen to know someone who has gone through this, whether it's from the parent's perspective or the child's, it's a great way to get out and get involved in the community. And if not, it's a great way to explore a new option, try something new, and interface with some new people.
If we have interested some people in contacting you, what's the best way to get a hold of either one of you, Jessica or Tyler, if they would like to join the team or teams that you have here?
Yeah, my phone number at New Vision Services is 661-1044. So feel free to give me a call, and I can link you up with any kind of opportunity, any way that you'd like to help out.
And how can people find you here at TRC, Tyler?
Sure. My number is 661-1443, and I'd be happy to make any special arrangements, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get some of the consumers involved and come out as well.
Well, thank you both for coming and spending some time. As I said, we'll give you an opportunity as the show comes to a conclusion if there's anything else you want to add. I'm going to give you a moment, though, to change places and allow Tom Kane, who's the division director for Western New York, for the March of Dimes. And there's one other lady with him, if she cares to step to the microphone at all, also during the course of this show, to fill in more of the picture of the March of Dimes and the March for Babies. Tom Kane, as I mentioned, is Division Director for Western New York. Tom, thank you for coming to Jamestown today and for coming on to this radio show.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit about your work and your background and experience with the March of Dimes.
Well, I've been with the March of Dimes a little over a year now. Actually, I've been fundraising up in Buffalo and Western New York for the last 16 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And the March of Dimes is really one of the few things that impacts everybody. We've in our 76th year at this point. We were founded by FDR to fight polio. In 1976, the polio was declared eradicated in the United States. We realized we still had a huge network and influence on health care in America. So the focus was switched now to healthy moms, healthy babies, prematurity awareness. Our biggest campaign right now is a 39-week campaign, which is considered minimal full-term labor. So, ladies, I apologize. It's no longer 9 months. It's 9 months, 3 weeks. So it's a little bit longer than that 9-month number that people have been thinking. And those last few weeks are so critical to the development of the fetus. So many things happen with the lungs and the brain and eyesight. It's just amazing. And we've been working also with physicians that they're not inducing labor unless medically indicated. We're not proponents of let's have the birth now before we go on vacation. Let's do it before my doctor goes on vacation. We are pushing full-term birth, again, unless medically indicated. The last few weeks just make a huge difference. We fund research. There's something with Independent Health right now up in Buffalo about smoking while pregnant. For years, it's shown that it leads to low birth weight. It also has shown that it leads to cleft palate. So new research, that things are coming up all the time that we're finding out that that's where the money that we raise goes to fund the best research that we can find.
I want to get into the March for Babies in a moment, but I've got to go back to this 9 months, 39 weeks thing for a second here, because all of us think 9 months is what you're saying in terms of full term at 39 weeks, just a different expression of the same thing, or are you asking us to look at this in a different way than perhaps we have for all of our lives?
It is more of an awareness. It is that 9-month number is a nice round number, so I almost 9 months, which is we're actually 3 weeks short, and some go from 39 to 40 weeks. To be honest with you, with full term labor. So it is vitally important that we get this awareness out there. So it is a new paradigm of thinking that it's not that 9-month period. And, of course, when they're estimating the 9 months, that number is always a little
shaky.
Exactly. There's no perfect number in a lot of cases that this is exactly the moment that conception happened, so it's 9 months. So there are factors there to be aware of.
The campaign is being effective. Are you addressing this to people in healthcare as well as expectant parents?
We had a huge media event in Buffalo in November, and we had all the representatives from the local hospitals, and the doctors and the NICU nurses are completely behind it. It had nothing to do with raising money. It had nothing to do with making a request and putting out our hand. It was just sharing the information and getting the doctors on board.
I remember I'm the father of 2 children. When my wife was expecting, the pediatricians used to say to us, babies do come on their own timetable and do a lot of other things independently in their lives, much to the frustration of us parents, regardless of how old those children are at the point of reference. But they do come on their own schedule, and you're talking as though you really want that natural schedule to play out completely.
More important than when we had realized in the past. Very much so. A couple of days makes a difference.
Really?
So, and again, with Jessica and her story, I can't top her story. I mean, the success of the birth of her daughter, and I'm sure her daughter receives surfactant, which is a drug which, for a premature baby, helps lungs develop. That was, I think, 84, 86 or something like that got introduced in the area. That was developed in Western New York by funding from the March of Dimes.
In Western New York?
This type of thing, yes. So it's this type of thing that makes a huge impact. Most of these babies would not have survived because their lungs would never have developed, or they would have had severe respiratory issues for their entire life. But surfactant is just an amazing, amazing drug.
And the protocols, if you will, to deal with children who are born prematurely, as was Jessica's Alexa, has really become quite superior at places like Women and Children's in Buffalo and all around the country. I mean, we really know how to help now.
Oh, without a doubt. The NICU units are becoming incredible. And again, part of the reason they exist is the March of Dimes. The nurses are absolutely phenomenal in the NICU units, and the amount of love that they put out to these premature babies is just absolutely incredible. You go in there, and they're so tiny, they fit in the palm of your hand, some of these premature babies. But, it's something that nobody could be against. It's just, it sells itself, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's such a worthy cause. There are simple things. We go to Albany, and we advocate for testing and legislation. There is a simple test now that newborns get that is now part of the regimen of I think it's 59 different things that we test for when a baby is born. Simple pulse ox cuff on the wrist or around the ankle that can determine if the baby has any heart issues. They might present normal, but this $5 test, which is now mandatory, can determine if there's going to be an incident slightly down the road with an infant.
What's that test called?
It's a simple pulse ox cuff. It's just, you've seen it in the movies and seen it on TV. They just put a little cuff around the wrist or the ankle of the infant. It just measures the heart rate and the heartbeat, and it looks for any anomalies, and it's a pulse ox monitoring.
You are so enthusiastic, and I want to get back to the March for Babies and how this all works in a second here, but the one question begs to be asked at this point. What's the next major thrust for the March of Dimes in terms of where you are looking to take your research, your public initiatives?
Right. The 39-week campaign is huge. We know that's going to be a couple of years of getting that message out there because everybody's heard 9 months pregnancy, 9 months pregnancy, 9 months pregnancy. It's longer than that. So that is the main thrust right now. And I wish I could answer what's the next because we don't know. We fund the research that find the breakthroughs. I'm not a medical person at all. I see the results of what happens. So there's money. Does money stay locally? We always get that question. If the research is here, the money stays locally. We do things with programs. Again, with Niagara Falls, women who their first visit to the doctor was when they were delivering.
Wow. So
these are really underserved communities. We fund money there for education and medication and vitamins and, prenatal vitamins. Huge difference as well in the health of babies.
Well, Tom Kane, let's get back to the March for Babies, which is our focus primarily on Share the Vision today. The Jamestown event is again April 26th at Jamestown Community College with registration at 10 o'clock. Jessica and Tyler have talked about this. Is there any other essential information about the March, the event itself that we should help our listeners?
They pretty much did my job for me. I was running what I was going to have left to talk about once these two were done because they're so passionate and so right on target. Again, ways that you can raise money with March for Babies. Your companies can sign up for a team. You reach out to your friends and family. The bake sale, phenomenal. The cheesecake, I need to put in a ticket for that, I think. So they sell the cutouts. The easiest way to raise money or to donate to the March of Dimes is marchforbabies.org. You can sign up online. You can register your team. You can send out an email to 10, 20, 30, 40 of your friends. Ask for them for $10 a piece. Nothing insane. And you'll be surprised how much people will contribute and give back to you. There is no fee to come to the walk. If you just want to come to the walk and join, you're welcome to come to the walk and join. We hope you raise money for us, so that's how we succeed. But there'll be hot dogs, there'll be Subway, there'll be Tim Hortons, all on campus. Everybody is welcome.
How long is the walk run? They said about 3 miles.
It's about a 3-mile walk. Actually, we were just in the car today going through the route. So it's there's some uphill parts, but it is a 3-mile walk. Some people do run it. I will never be running that. I don't have that kind of stamina, unfortunately. I wish I was a runner, but again, it's a family event. We ask you don't bring pets because they can cause, there's a lot of people there, but children are more than welcome, parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, but everybody is welcome to come join us.
The way Jessica and Tyler explained their experience with the March for Babies, it is something that is rich with story, too. I mean, you can't go there without hearing stories like Jessica and Alexa's and many other similar ones. So you really get drawn into what this is all about when you appear there.
There are many success stories. Unfortunately, there are many sad stories. The premature birth rate in New York State is hovering about 7-8%. We're trying to knock that down. We don't know why prematurity occurs.
You anticipated the question.
Yeah, there are a lot of instances where we know what happened here, but a lot of times there's not a single medical indicator as why a premature birth occurs. And that's what we're trying to figure out.
Very interesting. Anything else about the march itself, Tom, before we get into a few other things?
Quick thank you to the Resource Center and Steve and Jessica and Tyler. I mean, they have just been huge supporters of our event. I got the chance to meet them for the first time last year when we did the event in Mayville. Now we're down here in Jamestown. And the Dunkirk-Fredonia people are wondering why we moved it down here. But Jamestown it's a great town down here. We might be doing a second walk. Hopefully that's in the works. We've been talking about it. But the idea is that this is where we're seeing a great deal of our support. Not that Dunkirk-Fredonia don't support us, but the Resource Center is one of our anchors, to be perfectly honest with you, in getting behind the event.
And you do other similar walks at other places in Western New York?
We'll be doing it the very next day in Buffalo. So if you want to come up to Buffalo and Canal Side, right with the Skyway, we do it the very next day, and then we do one in Olean in the fall.
So this is something that is widely participated in all across Western New York.
Rochester office does one. Rochester do 5. Syracuse do 4 or 5. Albany, every town in New York and across the country has a March for Babies event.
As the division director for Western New York, we've heard a lot about what you do. Is there any essential part of your work that we haven't talked about, Tom, since you are here and such an articulate spokesperson on behalf of the March of Dimes?
No, that pretty much covers it. We do other fundraising events up in the city. We've got a golf tournament, and we do a wine and food event in the fall. We do want to reach out more to the Western New York community, not just Buffalo. We want to hit the areas because we realize it affects everybody here in the Western New York community, northern tier and southern tier. So,
who introduces? There's a silent partner with you in the room here. I don't think she wants.
Anna DiLiberto is here with me. She's our family team specialist. Very good one-on-one, but she didn't wish to be on the radio at this point. But we're down here today, and we're visiting different sites. Again, we were just up in Dunkirk-Fredonia. We're going to be going to the college campus as well, and hopefully hitting the local hospital as well. And really just we're spreading the message and trying to encourage people to be involved.
What does family team specialist mean? Could you describe her work?
A lot of our, again, because Jessica is basically, she's doing it because of her family. And so not every dollar comes from within a corporation. We could have somebody who, obviously everybody works, but it may have absolutely nothing to do with recruiting coworkers. It's bringing in your family. So Jessica's mom and dad or cousins or aunt or uncles. So the family teams are huge supporters as well. I would say more than half of where we see the money. We get corporate dollars.
Really?
We get corporations who have people inside. But the bottom line is it's always the family that raises the money. Jessica is not the Resource Center. She is her own entity and her own family and her own relationship. So it's all about the people who bring in money on our behalf.
I want to say this, and we're going to recap here. I'll get Tyler back up here, and we'll talk about the local march one more time. But if there is someone in this listening audience who's experiencing this in their family right now, or it may happen to them at some point in the future, what's the best way to connect with this wisdom and knowledge that has been developed through the March of Dimes to help children be born normally and completely and at term? Is it through their pediatricians? Is it through other organizations? How do people access that information, this vast resource that you are cultivating?
Yeah, again, we are not a medical organization. We fund the research, so I cannot offer you any medical advice. If I did, it wouldn't be worth anything. But yeah, obviously the doctors, the nurses, the hospitals, your health care. There is information on marchofdimes.com. We're not a .org, marchofdimes.com. That's because we've had that website before .org even existed. Mm-hmm. It can direct you to different things, but the best place to get medical advice is definitely through your local physician.
Okay, so we're talking about two websites here. I'll put them both out again. Yeah. Marchofdimes.com, marchforbabies.org.
That's marchforbabies.org is dedicated to the walk.
Tom, very nice to have you on this program today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm going to have you change places with Tyler again one more time. We'll recap the local event. Hopefully, Jessica and Tyler, we have encouraged some people to get involved in this year's March for Babies. Let's do the setup again here in terms of how they can contact you, how they can jump on, join the team or teams that you are a part of. Jessica's going to go first.
If you would like to join my new team that I'm just trying to start this year, you can go to marchforbabies.org, and actually marchforbabies.org/Jess Holmes would be my page, and then you can join the team. Or you can go to directly to the website, marchforbabies.org, and click on Join a Team and pick Filling the Gap is actually what my team is listed under. That's the umbrella organization that I work for.
And this is Saturday, April 26th at the JCC in Jamestown.
Yes.
10 o'clock for the registration. Okay, Tyler?
Sure, and folks can either reach me by phone at 661-1443, or I also have a link on my personal Facebook page that is dedicated to this, and I think you can get information there, or as Jessica suggested as well, I have a page set up for the Resource Center also.
Just one moment for you, Jessica, because we do some ongoing education on behalf of the Resource Center and having the community understand how all of this works together. What happens at New Vision Services, and how is it related to TRC? Because you work there now. I used to work here, now you work there.
Yes. New Vision Services is a corporation of the Resource Center. Actually, the umbrella corporation is called Filling the Gap, like I just mentioned. And there's a whole list of corporations that are connected to TRC, but they're separate entities. New Vision Services, which is the division that I primarily work for, we actually work with individuals on two different New York State waivers, primarily individuals who have traumatic brain injuries, mm-hmm. and then the other waiver involves individuals who would be eligible to go into a nursing home but would prefer to stay at home in their own home. And we support the staff that go out and work with these individuals in their home so that they can stay in the community.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I'm going to come back to Steve Watterson for a wrap-up on today's program. Some fascinating perspectives, new things that we have learned today, and really a marvelous opportunity to tell the whole March for Babies, March of Dimes story to our listeners.
Oh, absolutely, and it's always great to hear Jessica's personal story. As you say, it gets to you every time. We've heard it a bunch of times, but it does obviously continue to affect when she tells the story. So it's a great organization. It's a great event. I think people, if you haven't been there before and you are curious, I would encourage folks to come out. It's the first time that we've done this at JCC, so hopefully that's going to be a nice venue, and there will get a lot of support. And again, we would welcome anyone to come out and be a member of either the Resource Center's team or the New Vision Services team. So you've got the phone numbers, and give us a call if you've got any more information.
Is there any other Resource Center news we should share with the community today?
I can't think of anything right now, Dennis. Upcoming shows, we'll be talking about our landscaping service that we have that I think probably a lot of folks aren't aware of. It's something that's open to the community. And then we'll have to, of course, promote the TRC Expo and Street Jammer, the events that will be coming up in May and June.
Well, for the moment, thank you to Jessica Holmes, Tyler Case, Tom Kane, Anna DiLiberto, and Steve Watterson for sharing the vision today.